Okay, so I finally decided to get off my butt and review this. It's taken me a few days to process everything. Not because the show's bad, and actually the show's brilliant, but mainly because there's been an awful lot of conversation about whether or not the show is gratuitous or over the top. Of course, I'm talking about Peacemaker. So we're gonna get into it right now. What's up, my know-it-alls? Welcome back to the show. I am, of course, your host, Mr. Know-it-all. You can skip ahead at any point in the review. I'm reviewing both the first and second episode today. Won't be very long because I'm just going to sort of whip through this whole thing. And what we're doing is we're taking a time to take a look at the second, okay, technically the third, but the second installment in James Gunn's overarching DCU. Why? It started with Creature Commandos, went into Superman, and then ultimately has now come over to here. A lot of people there's been arguments about, oh, well, the show, how do you go from this fun-loving family kids Superman to then all of a sudden this much, much raunchier and much more over-the-top Peacemaker? Valid question, by the way. Not even going to take anything away from that question. I feel like what you have is James Gunn trying to establish out the gate that the DCU, unlike the MCU, is going to have, well, it's a lie, like the MCU way long time ago in the beginning, is going to have different vibes. You get to Avengers, and all of a sudden, Joss Whedon introduces quippiness and all these other things, and he establishes the MCU style. I feel like James Gunn, as both the head of the studio, one of the two heads of the studio, but the head of the creative side of the studio, and the person who writes, directs, and put together Superman and also the others and whatnot, who is setting the course and tone for the entire company. I feel like he's trying his hardest to really stamp a claim in the idea that the DCU will have different tones, will have different styles, will have different ways of being done that still kind of adhere to an overarching look and feel. Because here's the one thing I'll say. Peacemaker and Superman feel like they're cut from the same cloth. Now, some people are going to be like, yeah, it's right. It's that James Gunn sense of humor. It's terrible. It's whatever. Whatever. That's not what I mean. What I mean is Superman is bright. It's colorful. It's all these things. Peacemaker has the same palette. And I don't just mean color. I mean also tone. Because here's the thing. Though the second season is clearly already onto a darker start, the second season is actually building into certain things. Briefly, we'll go over some of the elements that people have already other people have already touched on some of this stuff, but I want to cover it from sort of my lens. The season 2 opener starts with a really great recap. This is the one time that I'll tell anybody who hasn't watched Peacemaker yet, watch the recap. You need the recap to establish where we are in time. They do a very clever thing, which is they tell the recap of the show in the DCU. It even says,
previously in the DCU.
Not the DCEU, the DCU. Why? You get the part where Adebayo says, she's talking to her mother Waller on the phone, and she says, can't you send the Justice League? And they edited the audio to say, can't you send the Justice Gang? And then you get to the very end, the part everybody is familiar with, which is where Peacemaker walks out, and you see the silhouettes of Superman, Aquaman, The Flash, and presumably Wonder Woman. And essentially tells them to F off and the whole bit. By the way, this is a very grown-up show. So I don't know if this constitutes Mr. Know-it-all After Dark, but I'm telling you right now, it's a much darker tone show and a much more grown-up show. So just be very aware. When you get to that moment, they've replaced the Justice League. It's the Justice Gang. Now, literally, we see the silhouettes of Mr. Terrific, Superman, presumably Supergirl, and we see the silhouettes of Hawkgirl and Green Lantern. And then instead of getting the joke they did before, which is Aquaman doing fish, what you get is this moment that because they added an extra scene from the original show. In season 1, there was a joke that had been cut out. You find this out by watching the podcast, the James Gunn podcast. By the way, it's one of the coolest podcasts ever. And in that, he made a joke about Green Lantern having a puke fetish. So in this one, you get Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern being like,
Who that guy? You know, he tells people I'm a puke freak.
And Hawkgirl laughs at him the same way Flash laughed at Aquaman. It's a whole thing. That's how they let you know we are now in the DCU. And in essence, it's funny because in one of the podcasts, James Gunn actually says there's a multiverse, and somewhere there's a universe that is exactly like season 1, except it takes place in our scenario. So our universe is exactly the DCU is exactly like the DCEU, except. And I was like, okay, that's I like that. I can dig that. I think most people can. Then you get to the actual episode itself, and we are set a little bit after. You find out that Waller, of course, has been dethroned, as we saw at the end of the series. Adebayo is currently separated from her wife, and she's trying to start her own security company, a security firm, or whatever else. Meanwhile, everyone else is Harcourt's been fired. Everybody else has sort of been dealing with some stuff, and the only one who's still working for Argus is, of course, Economos, played by the very talented Steve Agee. And it's funny, whose name I only actually know properly because of the Peacemaker podcast with James Gunn. By the way, that's its title, the Peacemaker podcast with James Gunn. Oh yeah. As you go through this episode, you start to realize it wasn't all happy endings and ha-has and everything else. There's a tension between Harcourt and Peacemaker that I appreciate, and we start to see a darker side of Harcourt in this episode. She goes to a bar, seemingly after having encountered Peacemaker, who came to visit her because she's not answering her phone. She goes to a bar and starts to fight and gets her butt kicked, and then is happy about it. And that's literally how the episode ends. On the flip side of this, Peacemaker he goes home, and in the midst, this is the big scene everyone was talking about. In the midst of a massive rejection from Harcourt, he goes home and tries to nurse his feelings with alcohol, drugs, and presumably sex. We cut to a massive, it goes from him taking a rip off a bong to then they transition to him, same spot, in a house where an orgy's happening. No. This is Mr. Know-It-All in the edit. Tell me you didn't actually think I was going to show even a pixelated version of that scene. Sorry. This is still a family channel. And it is flagrantly everything you think it is. It is an orgy, and they hide nothing. Welcome to HBO's Peacemaker. Okay, that's why I think I'm starting to think that's why they hyper-focused on the fact that this is an HBO original show and not whatever other version of this that the first one may have been, because we all know, anybody who saw Game of Thrones season 1, 2, and 3 understands, how seriously hardcore HBO will go for the sake of the story. You would have thought the internet clutched its pearls so hard. The discourse online has been everything from it's brilliant to it's terrible and gratuitous, and then everything in the middle is like, well, this is just James Gunn being whatever, blah, 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 and this is how he is. Fine. The truth is, I'll be honest, so many people got hung up on this scene. I hate to break it to you all, I barely noticed that scene. Here's what I mean. I was so focused on the character of Chris and what he's dealing with, Peacemaker. And as you watch this evolution of his character, I immediately picked up, and again, it might be the writer in me, but I immediately picked up, he's not happy. None of these things, none of these trappings are making him happy. He tried to hide and sort of hide behind these coping mechanisms, alcohol, drugs, women, men, whatever. He tried to cover himself in the debauchery that normally would make him happy. And it didn't. And that's what I got from that moment. And then he decides he wants to go to, in the very beginning, you see a moment where he lets Eagly in, you see that there's another door and an alien comes out to do a thing, whatever. But he goes to the closet where his dad had all his stuff stored and everything else, and it's like a pocket dimension that we always thought was just his dad's. Well, come to find out, no, it's a pocket dimension that's like it's like an interdimensional locker room that is connected to 99 other versions of reality. He happens to follow Eagly and find himself in one of them where his family is very different. And you find out later on, his brother is still alive in that other dimension.
You okay, man?
No.
Oh yeah. And so what ends up happening, I mean, seriously, they throw a lot at you and it's all very good. The biggest part of that is his dad's not a racist. unless somehow the entire world is in that whole that's just some fascist world or whatever. But for the most part, his dad is very much a nice his dad and his brother who's now alive are the trio, and they're their own superhero little clique group. And he's like blown away by this realization. You do get the dancing intro. Okay, my feeling on the dancing intro is it's not as catchy as the first season, but it's not bad and it's growing on me. Now that we're on episode 2, it's growing on me. So now we shift over to yesterday's episode, last night's episode. Episode 2 is actually, I think a lot of other people might feel like it's a filler episode. It's not. It slows down a little bit, but it's a character episode for sure. And you get to see the aftermath of some things. Harcourt has this crazy scene where it's the day after and she's got bruises and stuff and she's in a CVS or whatever, or some sort of pharmacy, trying to find makeup to cover up, because you find out later on that she's going to a get together of the 11th Street kids. And there's this lady who shows up trying very innocently to talk to her about abuse. Yeah. And Harcourt rips her one.
I have my own problems, okay? All right? Is that okay with you? Sorry.
It's like, oh my God. And then as Harcourt's about to leave, you find out just how desperate the situation is, which you kind of knew a little bit in the previous episode when she met up with Peacemaker and Adebayo earlier in episode 1. But in this episode, she sees this for hire sign and is pretty much like, even though she just ruined any chance she might get that job, she's fairly like, for a brief moment, she's tempted to want to apply because that's how desperate she is right now. The episode actually started, though, with a flashback to 8 months prior, and we get to see the moment that Rick Flag takes over. And when Rick Flag took over, the first thing he asks is he wants Economos to get the file on the death of Rick Flag Jr. And Economos is like, he's like, well, I don't know if you want to do that so much. And he's like, I'm the director now, go get me the thing. And he's like, okay. And it's not going to go well, but because he finds out and he kind of relives it. They get to tread through the movie footage. And I'm like, I keep thinking to myself, how much more can you guys get out of this movie than you've already gotten? So God bless them. The power and magic of editing and recycling the scenes, good for them. And so now you understand the reason why Rick Flag is 100% on it. You found out last episode that he has sent Economos to watch over Peacemaker, and he hates it, but he has to do it. We also get our first look at, you find out apparently in the first episode that Vigilante and Economos have become kind of friends now after everything, and that carries over into this. Peacemaker calls Vigilante to help clean up the mess. Because at the very end of first episode, he runs into himself, and while in the other dimension, and while there, the other him tries to kill him, and they fight, and in self-defense, Peacemaker, will call him 1, kills Peacemaker 2. So that has to be cleaned up, and it's the weirdest scene. Because Vigilante is so giddy about the idea of being able to help chop up his friend's doppelganger with him. It's so crazy, but it's so perfectly Vigilante in a way that I love. Economos gets a partner, and it's really good. It's played by a very, very famous actor. And because my ADHD and I'm trying to remember the whole story and everything with no notes whatsoever. Normally I have notes on the prompter. I don't have anything on there today. I'm just decided to wing it because I like what they're doing storytelling wise. And I felt like I could just tell this. And so I don't remember the actor's name. It's a very famous actor. I should know this name. In the editing phase, I will put it on the screen. And this guy's super creepy as well, but he's definitely there to babysit Boudreaux sent him over. You get to see Economos basically is being set up because they find out Economos is going to the reunion of the 11th Street Kids, and they're like, cool, while he's there, you're going to take a TAC team and go in. And then we get to see this TAC team. Each of them gets a moment, which I thought was interesting because they're gone pretty quickly. And so then the new guy who's leading them through, he gives Economos a nickname. I think it's like Gingerbeard.
Ginger Cool. You mind if I call you that? Ginger Cool?
And then he gives each of them a nickname based on their features. They're very unflattering nicknames.
All right, Mexicali, you take your gadget, scan for any anomalies you find throughout that house. Pony Boy, Don't let him out of your sight. Titties, I want you to take the front door. Encino Man, you take the back door.
So, and it's funny because if you watch the podcast afterwards, you find out that in the script, when the names are given, and even the one guy whose name changes like 3 times, James Gunn changes their character's name physically in the script. It's actually hilarious to think that they go to that level of that deep. And I love tidbits like that, having come from the industry. So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cute. So then you have this moment where Peacemaker goes to the party, and so that tag team goes in. And while the tag team is in there, who shows up to protect the house? Eagly. And you find out that dude has he has what they call bird blindness.
I can't tell the difference between one type of bird and another.
Okay, but a duck and an eagle are totally different sizes.
Yeah, well, they look the same size to me, man.
Eagly could be a duck as far as he's concerned. And so Eagly shows up, and when I say Eagly manhandles the entire team, yeah, I'm not even kidding. There's eye trauma, triggering eye trauma, because Lord knows I wasn't expecting it, and I hate eye trauma. But and then at the very end of it, I couldn't believe it. Eagly gets a slow walk. And it's sort of the greatest thing ever. The minute it started, I look over at Mrs. Know-It-All and I'm like, did they just give Eagly a slow walk? And she's like, I think they did. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And it really is. Eagly looks stupid good. And it's just so fun. And then goes into his house. And I swear, I figured he would just slam the door or something. But anyway, after everything with how bad the whole party goes, Chris comes home. He's drunk as can be. He finds Peacemaker 2's phone, and he tries to text the other Harcourt 2. We'll call her Harcourt 2. And he can't get a signal. He goes into the dimensional room because obviously you can't text across dimensions. He goes into the other place, and you can hear his dad's voice talking to somebody saying, I'm really worried about him. He might have relapsed. He might be on the pills again. He's missing. He's worried about his son. And all of a sudden the phone goes, and it's the other Harcourt, and he sits down, and that's where we leave the episode, with him having backed up, and we go see over the shoulder, and he's sitting in that world. To me, that signals very much he has now gotten comfortable in the idea that he's going to stick around there for a bit, because his life sucks. And I do believe, I believe moving forward, I believe we're going to see Rick Flag, repercussions. And we've seen the future promos for the season, the one that shows Hardcore, and then we have to go get Peacemaker back and whatnot. So I think this next episode is going to be like the high point of like, yeah, I'm living this new imaginary life. And we'll see how that works out. Overall, I actually really did dig the first 2 episodes, and I'm going to give a unified score for both, not one or the other. Because I think the first episode sets up some things. I think this episode sets up more things. And I do like the place we're going. I also felt like the first season was James Gunn being his James Gunniest. This season feels more like we know who these characters are, so there's a shorthand, and we're going to settle in and actually start to get to know who these people are as characters. And that makes a big difference in terms of how the story is being presented. Not to mention, it is definitely a slower pace, more purposefully paced. And it's also got a slightly darker color palette, and it's definitely a darker tone than the first season was, while still maintaining the feel and look overall. So comment below. Would love to know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in the rest of the season, and what's maybe to come. Also, what is your thoughts on the whole, on the or both the orgy scene? Did it serve the purpose of the story the way I attest or contend it did, or do you think it was just kind of gratuitous for the sake of gratuitous? Also, if you have that opinion, what is that based on? I would love to know. As somebody who, I feel like I have a strong moral compass, but at the same time, for the sake of the story, I feel like it worked to convey the message they were going to convey. And I have the feeling that that's probably the first and last time we're going to see that sort of thing overall. I think Peacemaker as a character is growing, and that's sort of sticking with me, at least in my thought process. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So there you go. Now you know. And if you don't accept the battle, you're halfway to being know-it-all yourself. What's the know-it-all index for this episode I'm sorry, the first 2 episodes of Peacemaker this season, season 2, episodes 1 and 2. I tell you what, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm very happy with things that are doing. The 2 combined, episode 1 would probably get either a 7.5 or an 8. This episode would get an 8. I'm going to round both. I'm going to say together, I would like to give this together a 9. So they both get a 9 for me. Comment below again. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Are you down for what they're doing this season? I know I am. I can't wait to talk more about all that. I will talk to you guys again. Don't forget, tonight we're going to be on Nerd Fights talking about this with Salty, as well as the most recent episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I will also have a review for today. All right, guys. I'll talk to you again real soon. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all. Bye, guys.